this is Sean Clark with Horror's Hallowed Grounds and the Thing with Two Heads podcast. But right now you're listening to the FANTASM Podcast. So listen to this one, then go listen to mine after.
FANTASM.
Hey, this is Dr. Vincent West, medical doctor from the FANTASM Podcast, and I have a very special guest today. It's our 5-year anniversary of FANTASM, and with me today is Sean Clark, a Horror's Hallowed Grounds. This guy is a plethora of knowledge of horror movies, and Sean, it is so exciting to have you back on the podcast. It's been a few years, but I'm so excited to have you back on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. Just to kind of jump right in with you, and we were talking about this before we started here, or I was asking you about it. I'm a huge fan of having your Horror's Hallowed Grounds stuff on extras on the Scream Factory releases, and I was curious, I'm sure some other people are as well, as a fan like I am, what is going on, like why have they not been including those, or what's going on with those showing up as content?
I mean, that's really more a question for Cliff McMillan and Jeff Nelson. I'm definitely willing to still do stuff,
right? And
would love to still do things. I mean, yeah, it's not like they've cut ties with me. I spoke to Cliff 2 weeks ago
right,
in regards to some other stuff, but as far as the Horror's Hallowed Grounds stuff goes, yeah, I mean, they've offered me a few things here and there that weren't movies I was really into.
Right, right.
And if I'm not a fan of the content, it's really hard for, I don't want to phone it in. I want it to be genuine.
Right.
But they have put out some stuff that I would have loved to have done. And, for example, the Friday the 13th box set, I had so many people reach out to me when it was announced, going, oh my God, are you finally going to be doing the Friday the 13th? So,
I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, they never asked. And then they had someone else do, I don't want to call it a knockoff, but, it is what it is, a locations piece instead of me. And, I don't knock anybody for, I'm not trying to put, because actually the guy, Michael Gingold, who did, he did part 1, maybe he did part 2. I watched it once, I don't remember, but, I know him.
Right.
He used to write for Fangoria magazine. He's a good guy, but,
right.
But, people like my style. They like the way I do it. They're used to that.
Right.
And I got a lot of feedback from that, like people going, who's this guy? Like, did they replace you? And, what are they thinking? And blah, blah, blah. And then, there's been a couple others too. I mean, they've been bringing in other people to do the same thing I do. And, not to try to be arrogant or anything, but I've seen some of it, and I don't think it's as good as what I do.
It isn't. If you don't mind me saying that, because I don't think it is at all. I was really disappointed with that Friday the 13th extras disc.
Yeah, I mean, I won a Saturn Award for the extras we did for the Halloween box set, and I'm super proud of that box set. I think
it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean,
and I would have loved to have been able to contribute that type of effort to a Friday the 13th box set, but, it just didn't happen. No, honestly, would I have had time to do it all? Probably not. Would I have liked to have done a few of my episodes? For sure.
Sure.
I mean, I just shot Friday the 13th Part 3 and Part 6, and I'm currently editing right now.
Really?
Just to put on my YouTube channel. So those will be up. I'm trying to decide how I want to release them. My original plan was to put Part 6 out last Sunday, which was the 35th anniversary of Part 6, but I got so buried getting ready for, I had a huge convention last weekend, Flashback in Chicago, and I had 21 clients there, and I had 4 clients at Scares That Care in Virginia the same weekend, so I was really overwhelmed. So I wasn't able to get it done in time, so now I've been kind of focusing on dropping it this Friday, which is Friday the 13th, but I kind of feel weird bringing out Part 6 before Part 3, even though I'm not doing 4 or 5 yet. I'm just kind of, opportunities arose, and I took them, like I had an opportunity to get on the, it's a filming lot, a filming ranch where they shot Part 3.
Nice.
It's not open to the public.
Oh, okay.
And an opportunity presented itself where I was able to go do it, and I'm like, I can't pass this up. I've never seen this stuff, so I did that, and then I just figured, well, let's do a whole episode and knocked it all out. And then I did a big Georgia trip a couple months ago and shot like 6 different episodes while I was in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
I did Friday the 13th Part 6, a movie called Little Darlings, which that episode is up already.
Nice.
I did Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Okay.
I did Pet Sematary 2.
Oh,
I did
it's a good one.
Willy's Wonderland. That episode's up. So Pet Sematary 2, Willy's Wonderland, and Little Darlings, which is not a horror film. It's a 80s teen comedy, dramedy, which I'm doing some non-horror things under the banner Hollywood's Hallowed Grounds.
Oh.
So I've been doing some non-horror stuff. Like I did a Fast Times episode.
Awesome.
Fast Times Ridgemont High about, just 2-3 months ago. And I think it might be surprisingly my best as far as viewing numbers. I mean, it's killed for some reason. I love that movie. It's a great movie, but I was shocked at how it's already over 50,000 views. So I was like, damn. But so yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff. So I'm trying to decide: do I put Part 3 out on Friday, or do I do Part 6? I kind of want to do Part 6 because there's some fans. There's a Part 6 event happening this Friday at the camp in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And I've had several fans message me saying, I really want your episode out before this happens, so, can use it as a guide. And I know they're doing tours and stuff there, but I also know I found some locations nobody's ever found before. So
awesome.
It's one of those things, do I want to be a dick and kind of hold those back a little bit? Or do I want to share the love right out the gate so everybody, copies me? I don't know, But, I don't know. I'm trying to, I'll probably just drop Part 6 on Friday.
I have a question for you about Part 3. Where was that shot?
It's called Valazay Ranch in Santa Clarita, California.
Really?
Yeah, it's a movie ranch. They shoot tons of stuff there. They've shot like some Westworld there. They've shot most recently they shot 3 from Hell there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they have a whole Mexican town set. I also did that while I was there as well. I shot at least all that stuff I needed from 3 from Hell, so I could put an episode together. Not high on my priority list, but I figured while I was there, I might as well grab that footage.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was just my buddy Robert Patterson, who, oddly enough, is the guy who writes my Horror's Hallowed Grounds articles now in Horror Hound.
Okay.
He somehow got a hookup, and he called me up and said, dude, you want to go? I'm like, Pope religious? What do you think? Yeah. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Malls,
Right. That's wild. I did not. Now, was that the only one that was shot in California?
No, Part 4 and 5 were shot in California.
I did not know that.
Yeah. 4 was in Laurel Canyon, Topanga Canyon, California, and then Part 5, I forgot what the city is. It's kind of It's up in that same area, kind of near Magic Mountain, but I can't remember the name of the city where the house is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, the house where most of the action takes place, it's on an avocado grove, and it's totally fenced off, and they're very, very, very anti-Friday the 13th fans.
Oh.
So, although you can kind of see it from the street, nobody has ever gotten on the property to this day as far as Friday fans.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
I was going to ask you to go back to the stuff. Can you talk a little bit, and I don't know if this is something you can talk about or not. I'm actually would be fascinated to hear this from you. The stuff that you were like, I don't want to, because I mean, it makes total sense to me if it was a movie you weren't into, if they've offered something for you to do. Well, what's a couple of the ones, if you can talk about that they were like, hey, would you do this? And you're just like, I just don't really want to do that.
Yeah, they asked me to do, and I wanted to. Well, I can tell you a few this one. Okay, so I did all the extras for the last My Bloody Valentine release, and I planned on doing a Hallowed Grounds for it. Peter Cowper, who played the miner, was going to go with me and everything. It was all set to go, and I kind of have to throw blame on my cameraman because he flaked at the last minute, and it kind of threw everything off. I mean, now things are different now, because during the pandemic, I kind of just taught myself how to do it on my own.
Right.
And the equipment has gotten so much better, in recent years that, a selfie stick and an iPhone 12 Pro and you're golden,
Right.
So had I been in that mode, I probably would have just went, but without him there, we lost time, and then they have severe winters there because it's in Nova Scotia, Canada.
Right.
And as it got a little bit, we were planning on going right at the end before it started snowing. So when we lost that little bit of time, it just screwed us. Now, as far as ones that they offered me that I didn't do, that I wanted to, they offered me The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly, and Dead Zone.
Man, I would have killed, because I just got that Dead Zone. That's my favorite Stephen King movie. That's my favorite Cronenberg movie, oddly enough, and I would have shit to have you do something with that, because I think that movie's so awesome. I think it's underrated.
Yeah, it is, and I probably still will go do it, for my channel. But at the time, it was like they needed it in a certain amount of time, and it was like, well, if you want me to fly all the way to Toronto and do this, it's 2 flights, hotel room, need to rent a car. I mean, right there, 2 flights from LA round trip, rental car it's probably going to take 3 days, minimum, and hotel, you're looking at right there, probably close to $2,000 just in expenses.
Sure.
Okay. They were offering me, and that's for 2 movies. They were only offering me less than that to hand in a completed project.
Now, was
2 films.
So the Fly was Toronto as well?
Yeah, they're both shot in Toronto.
Okay, I did not know that.
And I was, here's the big problem is that nowadays, as physical media is starting to die and less stores are carrying it and all this stuff, budgets are shrinking. So they don't have as much money to play with. And at that point, it was kind of late they had already utilized a lot of their budget for other bonus features for those 2 releases.
Right.
And they had X amount of money left, and they said, well, this is all we can offer. And I'm like, that doesn't even cover my expenses. As much as I'd love to do it.
Right.
For me to drop everything and just jam up, I got to pay my camera guy, I have to pay him. I have to pay an editor. Now I do everything myself. So I've taught myself, how to do it all. But at that time, I was like, dude, this is going without paying the cameraman and editing. It's $2,000 in just travel, hotel and travel. So it just didn't happen. But I when the convention thing was going strong, I was in Toronto at least once a year.
Right.
So I plan next time I go back, I'll definitely do those two. I also plan on doing American Psycho and probably Prom Night and Black Christmas while I'm there.
Oh, wow. The American Psycho, that would be amazing.
What's that?
American Psycho.
No. And I've been to all those places already. I did a written article in Horror Hound ages ago. So it's kind of a bummer because I've been to all these places and I did written articles with photos. And now that I'm realizing I could have shot episodes, myself. The reality is I didn't have a phone good enough to do it then. But it's just a bummer that I'm having to go all the way back and do these again. Like right now, I'm trying to plan a trip to the UK to go back to places I've already been, but, do proper episodes for like Clockwork Orange, Hellraiser, Shaun of the Dead, American Werewolf in London,
Wow.
The Omen. So...
Well, so the last, for everybody listening, for myself included, so the last thing that you did for Scream Factory, was it My Bloody Valentine then? That is the last thing I did. Extras wise, I did do, the very last thing I did for them was I did the audio commentary for Idle Hands. Oh, okay. I haven't picked that up yet. I've been wanting that one. Yeah, so I hosted that with Devin Sawa, Vivica Fox, Seth Green, and Eldon Henson. So I moderated the commentary, so we all recorded that together in the same room at a studio. And so that's technically the last thing I've done for Scream Factory, was that. Okay. And like I said, I was just talking to Cliff the other day about something. I mean, they did reach out to me and ask me to do the Halloween 1 through 5 releases that are coming out, the 4K. The 4K. Yeah. Yeah. And I said, look, I just feel like, what more can I do? I mean, at this point, I just feel like, sure, there's a few people that we didn't get interviews with that you could get, but I just felt like I'm trying to get blood from a stone a little bit here. So right. I did come up with an idea of a feature that I pitched to them, and they didn't seem very into it. And I think it's already a little too late to add at this point, but I did talk to Cliff about a couple unannounced titles that they're looking at for early release next year, that I said, I could do those. I could do those because they were both shot in LA. They wouldn't be that hard. Right. And I'm interested. So we'll see where it goes from there. And if that's the case, they might be a little, I know they weren't thrilled with the fact that I started my YouTube channel and was putting everything on there. Right. But I do own those episodes. They're mine, and those things have been out a long-ass time. And to be fair, every one of those Scream Factory releases I worked on were already on YouTube illegally. Somebody else had put them up, Oh, so, wow. I'm looking at, some of my episodes had close to 500,000 views, and they're not getting anything for it. I'm not getting anything for it. Right, sure. So I went through and had them all taken down and started my own channel. And then the funny thing is that Scream Factory actually reached out to me and asked me to take them down. And I'm like, well, first off, no, because they're mine. And, right. And I had an agreement that it's a long story, but the agreement I had with them was they get 6 months exclusivity, and then I can do whatever I want with them. Okay. That was the agreement, although when I brought that back up to them, nobody seemed to remember ever agreeing to that. But, wow. But, my argument was, so you guys are going to come after me and ask me to take my episodes down, but they've been on YouTube since the day those DVDs came out illegally by some kid,
who put them up. You didn't ask him to take them down.
Right.
And I also pointed out to them, and this isn't me, I'm not fighting with them. This is, I'm totally good with them, and I'm not trying to
right
put them down by any means. But, I'm like, look, all the bonus features I did for the Halloween box set, like the making of Halloween 4, Halloween 5, whatever, they're all on YouTube also. No, and I pointed it out to them. I said, why don't you get them to take those down?
Right.
And guess what? They're still there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you did. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did a really nice thing for the 40th Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well, didn't you?
I did a chainsaw episode.
I think it's on that set I've got.
It's on that 40th set. It's super amateur hour because it was.
It's great, Sean. I love it.
Well, I'm glad people like it. But it was the second episode I ever did.
Really?
Yeah, we shot that in like 2006.
Oh wow!
And I was just I never did anything. I showed it at conventions. Like once in a while, we would screen it at conventions because it wasn't out there. But then when I heard Dark Skies was putting out that 40th edition, I reached out to them directly and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know who I am, if you've seen my stuff on Scream Factory. I shot a chainsaw episode. It's finished. You can have it. I don't want anything. Just include it. I'd love people to see it."
Right.
And they were like, absolutely. And they put it on. So
I would love to see some.
Out.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would love to see some of your stuff on some of these amazing Arrow releases.
I have tried to work with them. I've talked to the main guy directly in person because he sometimes would come to Texas Frightmare,
right,
and get a booth. I think his name's Ewan or something.
Okay,
something like that. And I've said, look, guys, I'd love to work with you guys, but nothing, no love.
See, that's amazing to me because there's so many titles that, you talking about you doing Hollywood stuff, and again, I'm not trying to say these are films you like, but I would have sold my soul on that Flash Gordon set they put out to have something with you doing something on that. Now, I don't know if you're a fan. I'm a huge fan of that movie, and I was like, man, that would just be the coolest thing in the world to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, this was a little bittersweet for me. I had been working on this Fast Times episode I worked on it for close to a year because there are so many locations in that movie.
I bet.
And I'm a real completist. I kind of, there's all these other YouTubers that do filming location stuff, and if they don't do everything, to me it's like you're clickbait. You're up there trying here's my Halloween filming locations, and you do the Myers house and you do the Strode house. It's like, no, you need to do everything. You need to go to every spot. And so I'll sit on episodes for a couple of years until I get them finished. I started working on Rob Zombie's Halloween last October.
Wow.
And I've sat on it this long because there was one place I needed to get into that was closed because of the pandemic. And I hadn't had a chance to get in there. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to put this out unless it's finished, unless I found everything. So I'm still sitting on that. But what was I got a brain fart. I lost where I was at with this. What was I talking? Oh, Fast Times.
Yeah, Fast Times.
So I've been working on it, and it was close to being done. And then I heard that they were doing this Criterion Blu-ray. So I reached out to Criterion, and I said, look, this is what I do. I've done stuff for Scream Factory, Anchor Bay, Dark Skies. Here's what it is. I've already coincidentally started filming a Fast Times episode. If you guys want it, it would be an honor to be on a Criterion disc.
Absolutely.
And they were like, yeah, this is great. We watched some of your stuff. It's amazing. Problem is, we need it like ASAP. We need it like within a week.
Oh,
and there was just no way. There was no way I could get it done. And I wasn't going to turn it in unfinished, I wanted to have it complete. And, that could be my, maybe I'm my own worst enemy with that, because, like, for example, I've been working on Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Lost Boys for like 2 years.
Lost Boys? That's awesome.
Yeah, and just like, well, Lost Boys is technically 11, what is that, 11 years in the making. I'll explain that in a minute.
Okay.
But I recently have been focusing on those two, and I needed to get them done. And I'd been waiting for the boardwalk in Santa Cruz to reopen and all the rides to be open and available so I could get in and get all the shots I needed. And there's another guy that does what I do that, I think about a month ago, he put up both of them. Like, he went to Santa Cruz and did them, and I was just like, fuck.
Right.
Although he missed a bunch of stuff. So, but it was just like, damn, it just, I've been kind of sitting on these, and like, nobody had done Killer Clowns really, so I was like, I'm going to knock this out of the park. But whatever, it is what it is, and I've met the guy, actually met him for the first time like a month ago at a convention.
Okay.
He came up to me and actually, was a fan of what I do, and and I said I like the stuff he does as well, and that's when he's doing stuff that I haven't done or wasn't planning on doing.
Right.
But I gave him some shit because he had his Lost Boys episode listed as the complete, and he even put the word complete in caps. The complete Lost Boys filming locations. I'm like, dude, you missed like 5 spots. I called him out, and he laughed, and he said, well, it's the most complete until yours is out. And I'm like, fair enough.
Exactly. So Lost Boys, to me, grew up with it, saw it in the theater as a kid, love it. It's my favorite vampire movie. I'm a big Hammer horror fan, but Lost Boys is my vampire movie. A lot of people's is Fright Night. And I've got other friends that love Near Dark. But for me,
love all three of them.
Oh, they're great. But for me, Lost Boys is, man, you got to tell us about how Lost Boys came about for you to want to start doing that.
Yeah, well, I've been doing location stuff. My first location video technically was 1993.
Wow.
Which was Monroeville Mall, the Dawn of the Dead.
That's awesome.
And if you watch my Dawn of the Dead episode that's on YouTube, I used current footage with footage I shot in 93. So it's a real cool mix. It was a bitch to edit. Took me forever, but I had so many people reach out to me and say how much they dug seeing that footage in there. Anyway, I used to represent Corey Haim.
Oh.
And yeah, so he was not only a friend, but he was a client. And I had been doing the Hallowed Grounds stuff already. It was fairly new, it was probably only at that point maybe 10 episodes in, maybe less. And I said, hey man, what would you think about coming with me to Santa Cruz and, co-hosting that episode with me? And he was like, dude, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. That'd be awesome. And he was all into it. And so I said, killer. I knew when I have a special guest, like you saw, like my Halloween episode in PJ Souls, she comes from the locations with, you can't have them going around with you everywhere, especially with like Lost Boys. Most of the film is shot up in Santa Cruz, which is, 5+ hours away from Los Angeles.
Right.
But then there's several scenes they shot in LA. So I figured, you know what? I'll start with the LA footage, get that done, and then, I'll make arrangements to go up there with Corey. Well, we shot at the cave, which is in it's Palos Verdes, California, on the coast. It's LA County. And so I shot the cave stuff and all the area where the car pulled up, and they went down the stairs. Those stairs don't really exist, but, in the movie.
Okay.
But, so I shot all that, and then Corey passed away. So, and it was obviously sudden and unexpected.
Absolutely.
And it just really kind of killed my motivation to finish the episode. I was just like, well,
sure.
This is a bummer. I was all psyched. Me and Corey were going to do this, and, now that's not going to happen. So I kind of shelved it. And it's just been in about the last 2 years or so, I've been like, I think it's time to, finally finish it. And so that's what I've been working on doing that. And I've been sitting on it for I was planning on doing it before the lockdown happened of March of 2020,
Right.
And when the lockdown happened, that just, anything I was able to do a lot of location stuff during the lockdown, but if it was anything you needed to get inside, forget it,
Right, exactly.
Outside, no problem. It was actually great during the lockdown because nobody was out around. There was no traffic. It was awesome. But to get inside something, and I needed to get on that boardwalk where tons of stuff happened in the movie, and
right,
inside the merry-go-round, which is enclosed, so I wanted to make sure when I went, it was fully open. And
okay.
Same thing with Killer Clowns. They shot the end of Killer Clowns on that boardwalk.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so if you remember the end of the movie,
sure.
You see them driving through like a little amusement park, and it gets to the part where it says like the crazy house, and the security guard, sees the little clown car pull up, and they all get out and they throw pies at him.
Yeah.
That was all inside that same little amusement park.
Wow.
On the boardwalk in Santa Cruz. So I wanted to make sure I could get all that stuff. And they also shot a lot of stuff of Killer Clowns in Santa Cruz and a nearby town about 5 to 8 miles away, a town called Watsonville. They shot a lot of the movie in Watsonville. So from my house, I'm in South Orange County. It's a 6.5 hour drive.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I'm not just going to boogie up there. And, you know what I mean? Plus, we stayed 3 nights, and I just barely got everything done. Because there's a lot of stuff, and it's spread out, and I'm also very kind of meticulous in trying to line shots up, and I try to get everything perfect, and I was still trying to, I knew general areas, but I wasn't 100% sure where everything was. Like, for example, in Killer Clowns, the thing that's the crazy house, that's a facade they built in front of something else. And it took me a couple hours to figure out where it was.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm like, I finally noticed something that gave it away, and I'm like, there it is, fuck yeah. And then I'd start lining up, and I was like, yes. So I got it. But yeah, no, we literally just got back. Right now you and I are talking, it's Sunday. We just got back Friday night from Santa Cruz. So all that footage is fresh. And it was also cool, Mike Martinez, who played many of the clowns in the film.
Okay.
He lives there. He met up with me, and he went to some of the locations and had great stories and stuff. It was really cool. So he's going to be a little surprise guest. And I actually just confirmed yesterday, I was talking to Grant Kramer, who plays Mike Tobacco, the lead in the film.
Yes.
And he's going to do one location with me. There's one LA location, and he's going to do that with me whenever we have the time to figure out, when we can meet up and do it. So
that's incredible. Now,
and it's actually the last location in the film, so it works that he'll be like the last surprise guest.
Oh, perfect.
In the episodes.
Are you going to do for Lost Boys? Are you going to try to get anybody else to come in and maybe pop up in that, or?
No. I'm good friends with Alex Winter, who played Marco.
Right.
But all his scenes there is one location I could get him to. You know what? I may talk to him, but he can be a little weird about things, though. I love the guy, but he's not as easygoing, laid back as some other people. He might be a little uptight about it. I don't know. He's also not somebody who's big on looking back at his career.
Right.
So I don't know if he'll be totally into it, but you know what? I am going to hit him up, because the one location we could do, which isn't that far out of the way, it would be a little bit of a drive for him, because it is probably 45 minutes from his house, is the bridge from Lost Boys. That is actually, a lot of people there's a bridge that looks just like it in Santa Cruz, and everybody thinks that's the bridge, but it's not.
Really?
It's actually in Santa Clarita, right across the freeway from Magic Mountain amusement park.
Yes.
Six Flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is. So
the one they were hanging from in the movie that they were hanging on.
Exactly.
That's
Hold on
awesome.
2 seconds. I got Chris Nelson calling me on the other line.
No problem.
I'll call him back.
Okay.
Okay. I just told him, I said, I'm doing a podcast and I'm saying great things about you, so I need to say how great Academy Award winner Christopher Nelson is.
That's awesome. But yeah,
I hope to God that's a good idea. It's funny. I didn't even think about it till you mentioned it. That because the whole thing with Corey, that bummed me out.
Sure.
And then I also worked with Brooke McCarter.
Oh.
And he also passed away not too long after Corey. And Brooke would have totally done it too. He was a super chill guy that would have been like, "Fuck yeah, bro, let's do it."
Dude, if you had any idea what a huge fan of thrashing I am.
Oh, well, I'm gonna do an episode of thrashing with Robert Russler.
Oh my God, you just made my whole year.
So that'll be one of those Hollywood's Hallowed Grounds.
When Robert showed up, I believe it was in the Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Talking about Nightmare 2, I mean.
What's funny is, and this is kind of just, I guess, me being naive. When I first, our first official, it was actually our third episode, because our second episode was Chainsaw, first episode was Halloween. Our third episode was Nightmare on Elm Street. And that episode, we knocked it out of the park, because we had, because it was being made for the Never Sleep Again documentary.
Right.
And we had full support of everybody, and Heather Langenkamp was on board, and, so I had Heather Langenkamp in the episode, I had Tina, Amanda Wiss in the episode, I had the Hall Monitor in the episode. It's just chock full of celebrities, right? Well, I worked with Robert Russler, who's a good friend, and Marshall Bell, who played the coach in part 2.
Oh, great.
And I was talking to Russler about it, and I was like, I wish there was a way we could work you in this thing. And then I said, what if we pretend, you bump into me on the street, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? And you have sunglasses on, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm doing this Elm Street thing. You're like, I'm in Elm Street. You take your sunglasses off, hey, you know who I am? Like that, and I'm like, oh my God, Robert Russler. And he's like, yeah, dude, well, I could take you over the part 2 locations right now, And I'm like, oh, yeah, I appreciate that, but this is, part 1, the classic, and then kind of insult him. So we had this whole thing planned out, and then we took it a step further and said, well, what if Marshall Bell steps in, and he makes us do the, the standing push-up things,
Right.
And it just all worked out. So that was funny, and people thought it was funny. And then the next episode we did was Halloween 2. We were doing Halloween 2 and 3 back to back. And I was like, what if this became a running gag where Russler just keeps popping up? And he's like, dude, Elm Street 2. So we did that. The funny part is, if you watch those episodes, you just think, he's popping up at 2 different locations. We literally shot the part 2 and part 3 pop-ups the same day on the same street, just across the street from each other. We just changed clothes, and so we made it like, oh, bumped into him again. But what I was naive about was thinking that people are watching these in order,
Right.
So if you watched part 3 first, you're like, what the hell is this dude popping up giving him shit about? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. If you watched them in order, it makes sense. So I was like, well, I didn't think of that. So.
Well, I've never got to meet him, but that movie is near and dear to my heart. That Olive Blu-ray is one of my most cherished possessions, and I've seen that movie so many times. I have all the bookmark because I never had the soundtrack as a kid, and I would always try to find. So when people were uploading like that White Tiger song from the pool scene, and just I can't tell you what a huge fan I am, and like if I ever got to meet him, he's probably going to be like security because I'm telling you, him and Josh Brolin, like I would lose it. And it's just one of those movies that I rented a lot on VHS as a kid, and I'm obsessed with it. So a lot of people are into Rad. I'm a thrashing kid. So.
Nah, thrashing all day over Rad.
Yep.
And even though I own the screen used skateboard, Christian Slater's screen used skateboard from Gleam in the Cube,
that is amazing,
still
sir.
A far superior film.
That's amazing, though. That's really Gleam in the Cube's another. That's a really good one. But yeah, Robert popping up and all that stuff was just really just a lot of fun. So I'd be dying to see what you do with thrashing. That would be must see on your YouTube channel for that. That's amazing.
Well, I had another idea. I ran it by. I don't know if have you heard of Adam the Woo?
No.
He's another YouTuber who he's probably, I would say, as far as popularity, as far as subscribers, I think he has like 600,000 subscribers. And,
wow.
He does what I do. Has a different style. We're good friends. I mean, I've been in some of his videos. He's been in some of mine. Anyway, I had an idea. I ran by him recently. He thought it was pretty funny. I was saying it would be funny if we did a video where he starts it off like it's him hosting it, and he's doing Elm Street 2, and he has Wrestler, and he's all special guest Robert Wrestler, and we're going to do Elm Street. He has this whole shtick. He has this, like, it's a thing he does every episode where he announces what the episode is, and then he says, "Join me, shall you?" Like that, and that's how he starts every episode. So I said, have you guys do that, and then when you get to the join me, and he goes, "Shall you?" and I step in and go, "Nope," and be like, "No, but this, what are you doing?" And then Russ would be like, "Well, bro, you're not returning my calls. This guy wants to do an Elm Street 2, and I'm like, no. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do an episode, but we ain't doing Elm Street 2. We're doing thrashing. and then we go into a thrashing episode. So
I'm telling you, it sounds silly to just keep talking, but when he added me on Facebook a few years ago, and he asked me why, why the hell are you trying to add me? And I was like, man, thrashing is like, and ever since then, like every blue moon, I'm not every one, but every blue moon, I had a birthday a few years ago, and he was just like, "Happy birthday from Hook," and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me that he just put that, that he just sent me that," because not to just go super fanboy, I'm telling you, I love that movie. So I don't know what it is. I think people that grew up with that, I would have loved to have seen it theatrically. Unfortunately, where I lived in Florida, I never got to see it theatrically. But man, well,
I do have something I've been sitting on. I've been trying to figure out how to make it work, but it wasn't anything we were doing professionally. We were just screwing around, but right. I edited it into the movie, and it worked so well, and I uploaded it to YouTube, but then it got immediately flagged for copyright content,
right?
Because I used clips and sound from the film Weird Science. But when Robert and I were doing a convention in Chicago, I think in 2015, maybe 2014,
yeah,
we had a day off, we flew in Thursday night, and the show didn't start till Friday at like 5 p.m., so we had all of Friday. And he just out of the blue says, "Hey man, you want you want to see the mall from Weird Science? It's actually pretty close to here. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to see the mall from Weird Science with Max. So we went over there, and one of the girls that works for me went with us, and we were just looking at, he's like, oh, this is where we did this scene and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, bro, you and I should reenact it. Like, have your girl film it. It'd be funny. I'm like, yeah. So he and I reenacted a bunch of scenes in the mall. Me playing Robert Downey Jr. and we reenacted the going up the escalator and trying to turn around to chase after Kelly LeBrock, and we reenacted the dumping the Slurpee. We reenacted.
It's incredible.
The whole scene where they're trying to apologize to the girls, going, we're sorry, and they start doing those funny motions.
Yeah.
So we did all of that, and I have it, and I edited it into the film, and it works so well. But it's like, well, I could put it up still, but I couldn't monetize it. I wouldn't make anything off of it.
Sure.
Maybe I will just put it up. But I was thinking, should I hold on to this and do a proper Weird Science episode? Or
really cool. That's like, man, that Vamp. Those were things I remember seeing like a bunch. Nightmare 2 for some reason. Nightmare 2 is like my favorite Freddy film too. Like, I don't know why, I just love that movie.
I don't love the movie, but it's my favorite Freddy. I think it's the meanest, best looking Freddy.
Man,
there's something. He has a more evil look in that film.
Him popping up at that pool party, that scared the hell out of me as a kid. And that the whole, we're going to help you, and he's like, help yourself, fucker. Just all that. I love all that. But yeah, that's amazing, though, the Weird Science stuff. I bet that was cool to get to go to the mall with him, too.
Yeah, it was. And we've talked about doing a Vamp episode. We've talked about doing a Sometimes They Come Back episode.
That would be awesome, too.
That shot in Kansas City.
Really?
Yeah, but there's a convention nearby there that I keep, we keep talking about it. If I get him booked into that show, we're going and we're going to shoot that episode while we're in town, because what other opportunity are we going to have,
That would be incredible. I'll tell you the funniest thing about that movie. I had never seen Sometimes They Come Back till like later, like early 2000s or whatever. And I love, this is embarrassing, but I love the movie Meatballs 4. And that one guy that's in that movie with Robert, that's part of the guys in the car, I swear that's that same cat that's like the evil counselor that Corey Feldman's like up against in that movie.
I'll have to look that up. I don't know Meatballs 4 that well.
I'll tell you a real just crazy story, because on Phantasm I always try to get people to come on with us and watch like their stuff with us. Well, this guy that does like a lot of like AOR like hairband stuff throughout the 80s, his name's Paul Sabu. He did one of his bands, one of the incarnations of his bands, this band Only Child, did like the whole soundtrack for Meatballs 4. And like, I messaged him on Facebook like, hey, would you come on and like talk Only Child in this soundtrack for this movie? Because it's weird, because that album's like 1990 and it was like really hard to get. And like, this company, Rock Candy, reissued it, and I got my hands on it. So finally, I've got the Meatballs 4 soundtrack. I've wanted it since '92, and that movie, I saw it on HBO like 4 a.m. And I was like, hey, can you watch? And he didn't believe me. He thought I was like fucking with him. And he got like really mad at me. And I was like, no, dude, seriously, like you should come on and we'll watch Meatballs 4 and like we can talk about Meatballs 4. But it'd be awesome because your soundtrack's awesome. And it's like this AOR hairband stuff, kind of like that Alien band that did the stuff for like the Blob, the Blob remake with Kevin Dillon. It's just this good AOR, like underground AOR stuff, like hairband stuff. He was like, no, fuck, like really offended, like thought I was making fun of him. And I was like, no, I'm being serious. Like I think this would be really cool. And so I think sometimes people just don't understand like what some people just really like certain movies. Like I was being dead serious. Maybe he's embarrassed by it, or so I'm not really sure, but it was really funny to approach someone about.
You never know, man. You never know why, or what, because sometimes people do, goof on that type of music and that era and this and that. I mean, I'm a big fan of that stuff, but
same here.
When you mentioned White Tiger, and I was thinking, Mark St. John,
Well, man, I mean, seriously, like and I think a lot of it too, because we have a lot of like death metal and black metal stuff on our podcast. I think they thought I was like wanting to get him on to make fun. I really wasn't. I was being dead serious. I was like, because I started doing a separate podcast for stuff that doesn't really fit into that vein called Godless Heathens. And I've been getting people like I had the drummer for Blue Oyster Cult on, and I've had some just oddball stuff that didn't really fit in our wheelhouse. And I was going to do that with this Paul Sabu cat, because he was in that Only Child band that did the soundtrack for Meatballs For, and he literally thought I was making fun of him, and I was like, I'm dead serious. Like, I'm so serious. Like, and then Corey Feldman, I wouldn't even know how to approach someone like that about doing it. He'd probably think I was insane too, but it's...
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
Right. Yeah, it's wasting my breath, but yeah, it's so. Tell us about, and I'm sorry, got on a rant about that, but for the Hollywood's ground stuff, like, talk about that, like some of the stuff you've done or you're wanting to do, or
well, while I was stuck at home bored and I was learning how to edit. I mean, I know how to edit. I've edited most of the Hallowed Grounds episodes, but I edited them with an editor sitting next to me and me telling him what to do. Right. I didn't know the software.
Sure.
So kind of as a test, just to learn the software, I put together this sort of make-piece episode using footage I shot on a camcorder back in like 2006 or something, and photographs and all this stuff. I did Dazed and Confused, and I went back.
Awesome.
I went back to Austin not too long ago and did go film some stuff just for fun. And so I was piecing it all together, and it's got lots of issues, especially sound issues, because I didn't have a professional mic yet. So I'm like basically talking into my iPhone. Some people are complaining about the sound is all over the place and this and that. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I'm just learning how to use this shit. And but I put that together, and that was like episode 1 of Hollywood's Hallowed Grounds is what I called it. And so I did that, and then I did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's awesome.
That guy, Adam the Woo, he actually went with me. I called him up, and I was like, this was in June, just, a couple months after the lockdown. I have a friend that lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he called me up, and he goes, hey, man, the mall from Bill and Ted's, they're closing it permanently. It's getting shut down. They're probably going to tear it down and build apartments or something. And I'm like, oh, fuck, are you kidding me? I've always wanted to see the mall from Bill and Ted's.
Right.
And I was just like, what else is there from Bill and Ted's? And I researched everything. And so I was thinking, okay, it's like a 5.5 hour drive from me. I was, and I'm like, my girlfriend has zero interest in Bill and Ted's. So I called up Adam and I said, hey, man, would you want to go with me? And like kind of be in the episode with me, but
right.
Maybe you do. And he's like, you know what? I'll do a video on the closing of the mall, and the last night, we'll go the last night, and so we're doing something different. So he went with me, and we literally, it's so funny because Arizona hadn't locked down yet.
Okay.
Because, obviously, like Arizona and Texas and Florida, kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
But they hadn't locked down yet. So we got there. It's so funny. We got there, I think we arrived at our hotel at like 5:30 at night. And we're checking in, and, we had plans to do, we had it mapped out, everything we were going to go to. And I said something to the person behind the desk about the water park, because in the movie, it's Waterloo.
Yeah.
Actually, it's called Waterloops. People think it's Waterloo, but it's Waterloops.
Okay.
And I was telling, about that water park, and they said, oh, well, it's, as of tomorrow, it's closed. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? They said, oh, they just announced this new ordinance, and, all water parks are tonight's it, today was the last day. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, what time do they close? I'm looking, they close at 7 o'clock, and it's 5:30. We jammed over there, because it was the last night it was going to be open. And we got in, and, I originally wanted to actually go to the water park and go down the slides and everything. Sure. But I just went there, and I talked to one of the employees. I said, hey, look, big fan of Bill and Ted's. Would you mind if I just walked in and filmed some stuff and went up the stairs up to the top of the water slide and took some pictures, but don't actually go on anything? And they were like, go ahead. I was like, fuck yes. So, but we just squeaked that one in. Literally would have been shit out of luck.
That's incredible. You got that. Now, what about the restaurant where they have Napoleon at? I guess it's Ted's brother or Bill's brother. I can't remember.
That was Ziggy's.
Ziggy's, that's it. Yeah.
Ziggy Piggy.
Ziggy Piggy, the pig. Right. Yeah.
What that was at the time of filming was a Showbiz Pizza. Yeah, and how I know that is, because everybody goes, oh, it was a Chuck E. Cheese. Well, it's currently a Chuck E. Cheese. But at the time, it was a Showbiz Pizza. And if you look over the shoulder of one of the kids on the wall, you can see Billy Bear, the mascot of Showbiz Pizza, on the wall. Like, out of focus, but you can see him. And also, behind Napoleon, you see a little kid on a little... it's almost like one of those little rides you put a coin in and ride. Yeah. But it's like a little mini Ferris wheel. Like you sit in a little car and you go around a circle. Uh-huh. That was specific to Showbiz Pizza. It had Billy Bear on it, but they covered him up. But it's definitely that. This is the kind of shit I get crazy into. I sit down and I start getting technical and I'm pointing things out. I'm like, okay, this is that and this is that. And,
it's incredible.
I'm looking for names and street signs and, signs on buildings. And, I start to get into crazy deep dives of researching stuff. And it's funny, on that Bill and Ted's episode, everybody was saying that this one specific house was Bill's house. I always mix them up. Is Bill Alex Winter or is Ted? Yeah, Bill's Alex Winter.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was Bill's house. And I'm looking at this house and I'm like, it looks close, but it's not it. And I come to find out, I found an old listing. The house had been listed online, and they had interior photos, and they had photos of the backyard. The inside of the house, the backyard, was identical to the movie. I mean, identical. It was definitely at 1,000%. But the outside, the front exterior, it was not it. I'm like, there's no way this could be the same house unless they remodeled it. And it makes no sense because the inside is exactly the same. They did not, and it clearly wasn't a new remodel. They never remodeled it because I was right. It was not that house. But I couldn't find it for the life of me. I couldn't find the exterior of the house. I asked Alex Winter about it. He said, man, I don't remember. And then I talked to Diane Franklin, who played one of the princesses. And she said, oh, that house was in Palos Verdes, California. And I'm like, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, I remember that being Palos Verdes. And I said, you're telling me they shot the entire movie in Scottsdale, Arizona, but the exterior of the house was in L.A.? That makes no sense. So I asked Alex, do you remember that? I don't remember. And if you think about it, there's only like two scenes. There's the opening scene when you see them in the garage, like they come out of the garage. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ending scene of the movie where the princesses show up at the garage. So a buddy of mine who's just like a sleuth, I mean, you tell him to find something, this dude can find it. I don't know how he does it. He won't tell me how he does it.
He's a private detective.
he has some sources that are probably illegal. I don't know. But I sent him a picture of that house, and I said, she told me it's somewhere in this area. He comes back with this is where it was. It was torn down 3 years ago. Here's a satellite view of the house before it was torn down. Here's a street view of it, 2017. And I'm like, 100%, that's it. Unfortunately, at that point, I'd already put my episode up. So I did a little addendum to it, like Bill's house found.
That's awesome.
But it was like crazy, you found it. And one of the things that's really neat is when you let a homeowner know that their house was used in a movie and they had no clue. Because that's happened a few times.
Do they get mad, or are they happy when they find that out?
I've never had anybody get mad if they didn't know. I've had somebody like kind of argue with me, like, no, it wasn't. And I'm like, yeah, it was. I'll tell you that one in a second. But when I came up to the house, I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, like super, like, these houses are like, between like $5 to $15 million homes. And
whoa! So
I happened to pull up to this house. This is the house where Bill's house was. It was torn down and rebuilt. When I got there, a woman was out front, like in the driveway with her kids. And I walked up and I said, excuse me. And I said, I don't mean to bother you. I said, but I'm a big fan of the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And, I know this is where Bill's house used to be. And she's like, what? And I said, you know the movie? And she's like, yeah. And I said, this is where Bill's house used to be. And she's like, are you serious? I love that movie. And I go, yeah. I said, how long have you lived? I said, did you buy this house like in the last 2 years? She goes, yeah, like 2 years ago. And I said, well, I said, here, I can show you. And I showed her pictures. I said, see, that this is where it was. They tore it down and this was rebuilt. And she's like, holy shit, I had no idea. She's like, that is awesome. She was super stoked.
That's really cool.
I said, so you see that garage you're in right now? That's where they were rehearsing, that same spot. And she's like, no way. I mean, she was super cool. But there was this one time I found the neighborhood from Return of the Living Dead Part 2. And the house, that was the main house from the film. And I was out front taking pictures, and this guy walks out and he goes, excuse me, can I help you? And I said, I'm just a big fan of the movie Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and it was filmed here. And he's like, no, it wasn't. I said, yeah, it was. They used this house. And he goes, no, you're mistaken. And I said, no, they shot it here. And he goes, I'm the original owner. I bought this house brand new. No one else has ever lived here. No movie was ever shot here. And I go, well, that's where you're wrong. It was shot here before you bought it. I said, look, I'll show you. And I showed him the footage, because if you watch that movie, you'll notice that the rest of the neighborhood, like probably 5 or 6 houses around that house, are finished. But as they're going down the street, you'll notice the other houses are being built. Right. So it was a new development.
Oh, okay.
And he looked at it and he was like, holy shit. I said, look, dude, they filmed inside your garage. And he was like, no way. He goes, dude, I have lived here. He goes, I've lived here over 30 years. I've never knew this. Never. He was blown away. Blown away. I was the first guy to ever find it.
That's incredible. I mean,
he was super cool. He let me come in and take pictures. He's like, fuck it. Yeah, come on in.
That's really neat.
It was a trip. I dig it when stuff like that happens,
Oh, absolutely. Did you do a Horror's Hallowed Grounds for part 2?
Part 2 of
Return of the Living Dead.
No, I did it as a written article.
Oh.
So I didn't do a video version. I did it. It's in Horror Hound, yeah. So that's one I was actually considering going back and redoing, because, now that I'm doing all these video versions, I figured I'd go back and maybe redo that. It's not a great movie. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not. It was just one of those things where I kind of was like, well, I wonder where that was shot, and then I did some research and figured most of it out. So
you doing Dead Zone, man? I'm going to lose it if you get to do that. I don't.
I'm going to have to get my hair all big, like walking, and have to recreate a few of those. The ice is gonna break.
I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of people because I'm not real big into like body horror, and that's one of my favorite. That's my favorite Cronenberg movie. And I love Stephen King, And I've actually... Do you know, do either of them like that movie? Does King or Cronenberg like that film?
I think they both do. That one.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think they both like that movie.
Because it was always one of those things where I was, it's confusing because, like I love The Running Man, too, the Richard Bachman thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's another movie, like it's just a really good Stephen King, Maximum Overdrive. I mean, there's a few of his that I guess they're awful, but I just love them. But I was actually offered to do Maximum Overdrive. That was one I was offered. I mean, Scream Factory didn't do it. The Vestron. Yeah, Vestron collector suit, yeah. But Michael Felsher, who I actually have to give credit to because he kind of brought Hallowed Grounds back to life, because I did, my first episode I did was for the Halloween 25 Years of Terror. Right. Second episode was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I didn't do anything with for years. Third episode, again, I was kind of like, I don't really think this is, some people dig it, but it wasn't really going anywhere. But then I knew the guys making Never Sleep Again, because they were actually guys that I did my episodes with. And they were like, hey, you want to do one of those for this? I'm like, fuck yeah. So I did that, and then I kind of got, motivated again. And then, what I was doing while this was all happening, I was trying to get it picked up as a series. I was pitching it to different networks and had meetings, and I had real close at one point, like it almost got picked up and then it fell apart. So I kind of lost motivation again. But then Michael Felsher, who I knew from meeting him at conventions, he called me up out of the blue one day and he said, hey man, I'm doing bonus features. There's this new company called Scream Factory. It's a division of Shout Factory, and they're going to start doing horror titles. And I'm doing bonus features for some of their upcoming releases. And I love what you did with Halloween and, Elm Street. And would you want to do that for Halloween 2 and 3? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Right. I would love to do 2 and 3. Right. And so he, got me a little budget, and we went out and we did them. And the funny story behind this is we did our thing, what we always do, and we turned them. He loved them. He was like, these are amazing. Turned them in a Scream Factory, and they freaked. They were like, whoa, what the fuck is this? This is not what we expected. They were a little scared by it because my language is a little colorful, and I was parodying things, so I was poking fun at the movies a little bit, but that's the thing. Nobody has ever given me, no horror fan has ever said I've been disrespectful to the films. Hell no. Everything that I've poked fun at is the stuff that we all poked fun at. Yeah, absolutely. But we still love those movies. But they got really freaked out by certain things. Like there was a whole, I don't know if you've ever watched, if you go to YouTube and you watch my Halloween 2 uncut episode, there's a whole different ending. And they made me cut it. I fought with them on it, but there's this whole different ending that they weren't comfortable with. And they also, they were saying it had stuff to do with, well, you're putting yourself in the movie, so you're technically creating new media, which SAG could come after us for, because those actors that are appearing in those scenes with you, they could come after us for residuals because you're creating new media. It was like, that's not going to happen. Everybody who's in those scenes with me are my clients and my friends. They're not going to come at you. We were having fun. Yeah, but they made me cut. They made me cut a few things. There was that, and there was a blooper. They made me cut a blooper out of, I want to say it was the same episode. They made me cut a few things from that. There was the different ending, which actually
version that's on the Blu-ray, or excuse me, on the Blu-ray, ended with me at the Halloween 2 hospital, and I say something like, I need to get out of here, and then you hear sirens or whatever, and it ends. But the uncut version has me waking up in the hospital bed and Jimmy rubbing my hand. You know how he kind of caresses Lori's hand, and she wakes up and he's all high. He's all, want a Coke?
Yeah, you want a Coke?
So I recreated that, but I'm the one in bed. And I'm like weirded out by him, like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
That's hilarious.
It was really funny, and every time we showed it at conventions, it got huge laughs. And
you had Lance in there with you? That's amazing.
Well, no, he wasn't. I used the film footage, so I made it like I was.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. I mean, you should watch it tonight. Watch that episode. That's on. That ending is so fucking funny. I thought it was great. And then there was one little. It was actually a Rustler comment. They made me cut out of the bloopers, but it's in the uncut version on YouTube. There was what did he say? Oh, he said when we were getting in an argument about Elm Street 2, he goes, dude, Freddy Krueger would ass rape Michael Myers. and then I say, dude, I'm not debating who would ass rape who, and then I start cracking up. But it was just the ass rape comment. They're like, no, that's got to go.
Oh my!
Okay.
What?
It was just funny,
I didn't know. It's, to be honest with you, as much as I get a lot of their titles, it's disheartening to me because, like I said, the Friday 13th thing, I was pissed because I was just assuming they went back to you because the Halloween set was perfect, And
a lot of people assumed that when they read on the specs filming locations. They immediately said,
that's what I thought too.
They got you on it, but again, I don't own that idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anybody can do it.
Sure.
I didn't invent the wheel, I just may roll a little better than some, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But, it is what it is. And like I said, Friday 13th Part 2, Friday 13th Part 3, Friday 13th Part 6, they're going to be for free on YouTube any day now, so.
It's incredible.
And, they could have been on there. But, like I said, I have no ill will. I'm not bagging on them. I'm not.
Oh, I know. I'm not either. It's disappointing because I know what a great job you do, and when you spend a lot of money on a set, I want the best, and I think I'm not the only one that thinks that way. We want you. It's. I'm not knocking anybody else that does it, but I have a preference. You're a Renaissance man. I want you doing the. When I sit down the special features, like I was going back and listening to the Craven commentary track that you guys did together for Deadly Blessing.
Oh boy, yeah.
It's incredible. The stuff you've got him talking about in there is incredible. If you're a film nerd like me, it's great.
I have a story about that if you want to hear it.
Please.
Okay, so I get up one morning, like 8:30 a.m., and I get a message from Michael Felsher. Call me ASAP. So I call him. I go, dude, what's up? And he goes, hey, man. He goes, is there any way you could go up to LA today and moderate an audio commentary with Wes Craven? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Hell yes, I'd love to what movie? Deadly Blessing. I'm like, bro, you picked the one movie I've never seen. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know that. I've never seen it. And at this point, you couldn't get it in the U.S. on DVD. It wasn't out yet.
Right.
So I'm like, shit. I go, I cannot sit down with Wes Craven and do do a commentary for a movie I've never seen before. I can't show up unprepared, you know?
Right.
So I go, let me call you back. You know, give me 15 minutes. So I called a buddy of mine who lives near me. And I said, dude, do you have a copy of Deadly Blessing, on any format? And he goes, actually, I have a foreign, like a Region 2 DVD. I go, fuck yes. Can I borrow it now? and what's up? And I told him, and he goes, yeah, I'll bring it over. So he runs over to my house. I pop it in. I watch the movie. I take notes. I jump in the car, get to LA just in time to meet with Wes, sit down, having just seen the movie for the first time, and had to bullshit my way through a commentary. Because when I do a commentary on a movie, it's usually something I know like the back of my hand. I go in with no notes, total confidence. I'm just going to wing it. So here I am, I'd never seen this movie before, and to be honest with you, I didn't really care for it,
Right.
So, but hey, I'm going to get this, sit down with Wes Craven, and then fucking Felcher does it to me again. He did it to me again, 6 months later with Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Same day.
Yeah.
He's all, dude, can you do that again with Wes? Yes. What is it this time? Swamp Thing. Shit. Another one I'm not super familiar with, but I own it at least, so
right.
I was able to pop it in and watch it and get refreshed. So it's funny, I moderated the 2 Wes Craven movies I knew probably the least in his entire catalog.
I would have killed to have you do one with him with Shocker and with Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh my God, I would have killed those or any of them. Any.
Well, they, like I said, when they put you on this stuff, it spoils, your fan base like me. It's like it's good stuff, and you know what to talk about. I mean, to be honest with you, if you didn't prepare, I would feel comfortable you going in and doing. I don't mean to step on your career, but I'm saying I would trust you as a fan. I was like, Sean will knock this out of the park. He knows enough. He talked to Wes, So, did you?
Yeah, my most bittersweet experience. I will tell you one story that really was bittersweet. So I was working. I did bonus features for almost every friggin' John Carpenter movie there is.
That's actually what I was about to ask you about.
Yeah, there was the only ones I didn't work on was They Live, The Thing.
I wanted you on Big Trouble.
I was offered Big Trouble. I turned it down.
Not a fan?
I'll tell you why. I was offered This is why. I'll tell you the story. So I had done, obviously Halloween 2, Halloween 3.
Sure.
The Fog, Escape from New York, Vampires, Prince of Darkness, and The Mouth of Madness. I did all of
Prince
those.
of Darkness was outstanding, by the way. That was in The Fog one. Both of those are great.
Thank you. So I had worked on all of those. And when it came time to doing them in The Mouth of Madness. I had interviewed John. Oh, I did Starman also.
Yep.
And I had interviewed John at this point probably 4 times in a very short period of time. And he's a cranky dude. And I also have a feeling he doesn't like me.
Okay.
So, what's that?
I said that's terrifying because I've never met him. I'm terrified to meet him. Yeah. He's amazing, but I'm scared of him.
Yeah. But so I really felt like I was wearing out my welcome with him because every time I would go see him, it just seemed like he was getting shorter and shorter with me and more grumpy and just more like it was. It's one of those never meet your heroes kind of things,
right. Right.
So anyhow, in The Mouth of Madness is happening. I'm like, fuck, I do not want to interview John again, sitting down in the same room with him again at his office, going through the motions again, because the last one was pretty brutal. I mean, the last one I had done with him was Village of the Damned, it was Vampires. It was Vampires, and y'all
did a commentary on, you hosted the commentary on that?
No, I've never hosted a commentary with him.
Okay. This was a special feature. Okay.
It was always just sit down.
Sorry. I was just okay.
And I think maybe we were doing 2 in one day. Maybe it was Village of the Damned and Vampires the same day. I don't remember, but I just remember it was Village of the Damned, I think. And I said to him, we just interviewed Sandy, his wife, who worked on the film, and he comes walking in the room. And he sits down and he goes, okay, just want you to know I don't remember anything about this movie. Go ahead. And I'm like,
oh, shit.
Yeah. And of course, then he went on to answer the questions and talk about it. He's just grumpy. So when it came to In the Mouth of Madness, I do not want to interview this dude again. And I contacted Sandy, and she's like, I said, how about this? Instead of a sit-down interview, how about an audio commentary? You and him together. And she's like, let me talk to him. She's like, okay, he'll do it. I go, okay. So I knew the movie pretty well, but I wanted to be on my fucking A game. This John Carpenter's the first time I'm going to do an audio commentary with him.
Right.
I watched that movie 3 times and I took serious notes. I'm like, I'm going to go in so over-prepared, right?
Right.
So I go to the studio, I pull up, I have pictures of this, like parking spots that says Sean Clark, and the parking spot next to it says John Carpenter. Like, yeah, this is
That's
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, I go in there, I'm like, sign in, I'm in the studio, I'm waiting for him to show up, and him and Sandy to show up, and they come walking in. John looks at me and goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm moderating the audio commentary. And he goes, nah, that's not how this is going down. I go, what? And he goes, nah, we're good. We don't need you. And Sandy's like, John, he goes, no, we can do this. And she goes, John, he came here to do it. Let him do it. And he goes, no, we got this. We don't need you. And I was just like,
oh my God.
Crushed.
Yeah,
that was so. Not only was I crushed, but I busted my ass preparing for this.
So you were supposed to do a commentary with him then?
I was supposed to, yeah. I was there to do it. And then I had to sit there and watch them do it because I had to wait for them to complete it, to have them sign the paperwork, the release forms and stuff.
Right.
So, I drove all the way up to LA to, wasted my whole entire day to not get to do what I came up there to do. So when Big Trouble in Little China rolled around, the next project, I said, no, thank you. I've worn out my welcome with that guy. I'm done.
It's understandable. I would have killed to have a horse Hallowed Grounds on Big Trouble, though.
Would have loved to have done one. But I was just like, yeah, I'm tapping out on this one.
I'm going to share one with you that happened recently that mortified me. And it's in the same vein. Totally different, but in that family, we'll say. We had Adrienne Barbeau on a couple years ago, and she was so sweet and so nice and told us these funny stories about John, and it was just a great commentary. And from that, she was like, you should reach out to my son, our son, Cody. And I did, and he's just just someone that I would occasionally talk to on Facebook. We weren't even friends on there, blah, blah. And for our 5-year anniversary, I reached out to you. I asked him, hey, I would love to have you just come on. We don't have to talk about anything about your dad. We can just talk about your music, whatever else. He literally basically told me to go fuck myself. Like, how dare you ask me to come on? And I was like, and I'm not bad-mouthing. I'm just telling you the truth. And it mortified me. And I don't know that I would even ever have the balls to even try to talk to John, even at somewhere where he was meeting people, just because it's like, I got that upset about his son. I couldn't imagine what it would do to me to have John do that to me as a fanboy, I was like, because I love John. Kubrick and John are my two, and Hitchcock are my 3 favorite filmmakers, of all time. And it's, I could not imagine. For you to go through, just hearing that is just, oh.
Yeah, and it sucks because I'm such a fan. And,
sure.
And it really, it was just such a bummer. And, every time he puts out a new release from Sacred Bones, I'm pre-ordering it. I get the special edition.
Sure.
So I brought with me, the last time I went to his office, I had like the 2 latest releases he had, the special numbered editions with the wax seals, like, they're super limited, And I was thinking to myself, when I whip these out, ask him to sign them, he's going to be like, oh, sweet, you took these, they're awesome, I pull them out and go, do you mind signing these for me? He goes, ah. And he just like and then just gave me like really like just crappy signatures, just like, and I was like, wow, I was so bummed. I was like, this is just getting worse and worse,
This was at the In the Mouth of Madness thing.
That was that then? No, I don't think I brought anything to have him sign it. That was at his office when we interviewed him for Vampires.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, it was just such a bummer. And the thing about Cody is, I don't know him, but I met him. Adrian introduced me to him at one of their concerts.
Right.
And he just seemed really standoffish, and I asked someone who has known him as a kid, since he was a kid. I don't want to say who it was, but a mutual friend of the family.
Sure.
And I said, he seemed, I said, pretty standoffish, and he looks at me and goes, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. And I was like, oh, well, okay, fair enough.
I mean, literally, and I'm not trying to speak badly about everything. I'm just being honest with you. He literally told me, he goes, I have zero interest in doing your podcast.
Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Not yet, no. I'm in the middle of doing a podcast right now. Why, where are you going? Oh, well, I'm still going to the store, but go ahead. Okay, sorry. Oh,
no, I'm sorry. But yeah, it just really crushed me, and like it was, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I mean, I've had people, but for whatever reason, because it's, John's kid, it still felt just like he had put a cigarette out in my eye, it was like.
Yeah, I mean, I've never understood it. I've never understood the, he's, and the thing is, my experiences with him have been exactly like that, going back to the first time I met him in 1994.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, every time there's been something, he's got this weird standoffish thing about, if you want to talk to him about his work, I mean, he suddenly he gets cold, man. I mean, I remember when I was a journalist, I think I was writing for Dread Central at the time, and I did a set visit. It was a double set visit. It was Final Destination 3 and the Fog remake.
Oh, okay.
They were filming on the same lot next door to each other. 2 different big, what are those hangars. And I was over on the Final Destination 3 set, and I walked outside. I forgot what for, but I walked outside, and I see John Carpenter standing outside smoking. And they only flew him in for the day to do press because they had his name on the movie as a producer.
Right.
But he had nothing to do with that piece of shit remake. But he was there to go through the motions. So I walk outside. I was wearing a Seattle Supersonics jacket. That was my favorite basketball team at the time.
Okay.
And still is, even though they don't exist anymore.
Right.
So I walked outside, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Sonics got a good team this year." I go, "Oh, thanks, yeah." And we start talking basketball. He's a big basketball fan.
Weird.
Yeah, he's a huge basketball fan.
No idea. I never knew that.
Basketball. Everything's, he's taught, we're getting deep into basketball. Now, mind you, I had just released the Halloween 25 Years of Terror DVD through Anchor Bay. That was a documentary.
Oh, yeah.
I was one of the, producers of, although not credited, long story. legal bullshit. But I was one of the creators of that documentary and had my Hallowed Grounds on there and all that stuff. And so I'm having this great conversation with John. He's smiling, talkative. And I go, oh, by the way, I'm actually one of the guys that just did that Halloween 25 Years of Terror documentary that Anchor Bay just put out. And he goes, totally, face just changes, like completely cold. And he just goes, good for you.
Oh.
Yeah, and just shut down, man. But boom, shut down on me. I was like, fuck, you know? I felt like I just brought up your ex-wife or something that screwed you over. You know? Like, you know? Oh, by the way, my best friend is so-and-so who beat you up in high school, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It was not good. I was like, well, okay. So that ended that conversation.
I did an interview in 2017 with, are you familiar with a Chicago death metal band called Broken Hope?
No.
So their guitarist is a huge horror fan and a big horror writer. He's just big into horror stuff. And somehow we got into a tangent about John Carpenter, and his exact words to me were, Jeremy is friends with Kirk Hammett. Kirk Hammett got him to meet John. He brought a bunch of stuff to John, and I don't know what time frame this is, and John apparently was just, he signed it, crappily signed all of it, was not very nice to him, and then Jeremy basically told me to never meet him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks, because I mean, I just want to walk up and be like, do you have any idea how many times I've, watched They Live and just thought, wow, this is, filmmakers like John Carpenter, George, just the whole film. It's just it's mind-blowing, and Keith David and Roddy Piper and, just any of his work. And it's so disheartening to hear, like, I've never talked to anybody that was honest with me that was like, oh, it was great,
I don't know anybody who's ever said that he was great, I mean, I'm not denying his genius.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I love him.
Absolutely, probably hands down my favorite horror director of all time.
Same here.
But for whatever reason, man, just not much on personality, unfortunately. And, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to badmouth the dude. I'm just
me either.
Totally honest.
Me either, or even the thing with Cody. I mean, I'm just relating with you. Like, I don't think, I mean, I couldn't imagine that. Like, John and Stephen King are two people I've never met and probably never will. And I'll always try to keep in mind, I've never heard anything about Stephen King, but John, it's one of those where it's like, it's just so disheartening. Like, I don't think I would have the nerve to even walk up to him and just even have him sign something and not say anything, Yeah,
I met Stephen King once, and he was super nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Stephen was cool. That's great to hear. With you had touched on earlier, and I'm not trying to keep you. I just wanted to ask you a couple more things. With Kubrick, like you were talking about Clockwork Orange, have you ever thought about doing any of his other work? Like, is there any of his other pictures you'd love to do, like a Horror's Hallowed Grounds for, or even a Hollywood's Hallowed Grounds for?
Well, I did a Horror's Hallowed Grounds for Clockwork Orange. But I didn't do it as a video episode. I did it as a written article in the magazine.
Okay.
I also believe I did Shining. I think I did The Shining. Yeah, I did. I did do The Shining as a written article.
That's incredible.
What I'd like to do as a video. And how I would do that is I would do the book, the movie, and the miniseries all in one article, because there's so much confusion amongst fans about what was done where, because you'll have people say, oh yeah, they shot The Shining at the, in Colorado at the Stanley Hotel, and it's like, no, that's not where they shot that's where he wrote the book. That's where they shot the miniseries, though.
Right.
And then some people say, well, no, they shot it at Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood. It's like, well, no, they didn't shoot it at Timberline. They had an aerial shot of the Timberline, and then they replicated the Timberline in England at Elstree Studios. so people get confused on that. And then there's the Anawani in Yosemite National Park, which is the hotel they modeled the interior of the overlook. So I would want to go to all those places and explain everything. You know, like, this is where it was actually shot. This is what it was modeled after. This is what was shot here. This is where he wrote the book. You know, I want to do a big, crazy episode tying everything together, because I did my best to do that in the article.
It would be incredible.
But let's face it, not too many people read the article. So,
well, it would be incredible to see you do that.
And there's at Elstree Studios, and I have a connection. I think I'm going to be able to get in. There's a section of Elstree Studios that still exists. That is it's kind of office space, warehouse. I mean, I don't know what they use it for now, but long story short, the kitchen from The Shining with the freezer that she locks him in and everything, that is a real existing part of a building there at Elstree that they just kind of converted for the film. And it still exists, and it's still the exact same layout. You can see the pillars. You can see where the freezer door was. So it's like, I really want to get in there and document that too before it gets torn down.
Now, is this all in England?
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely incredible.
To do this episode, I would be all over the place. You know, Yosemite National Park, Mount Hood, Oregon, Denver, Colorado, and England, just to get all these shots.
I had a question for you about The Shining. Is it true? I'd always heard that, and forgive me because I'm assuming, is it Ridley that borrowed for Blade Runner from The Shining from Stanley? Is that like that the car shot, the in the theatrical version of Blade Runner, the
yeah. Well, I mean, Shining was shot first, so it'd have to be Ridley that borrowed Stanley.
Right. I knew there was like something to do with the where Deckard and Sean Young are riding off, and there was like the pan out scene or something about
at the end of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I tell you, as a fan, Sean, there's one movie, well, two movies, and again, these aren't horror films, that if you ever did a Hollywood's Hallowed Grounds for, I would fall over dead.
Which one?
Back to the Future, the first one, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, Raiders would be tough. That's all over the place.
Yep.
Back to the Future's been done to death. I mean, like, you could probably go on YouTube right now and find 50 Back to the Future location videos. Right. I mean, but yeah, I mean, if you want me to do it in my style and have fun with it and everything, yeah, I mean, I could. All that stuff is pretty accessible, and, you know, maybe I will get to it. You know, right now I'm really trying to get through the ones I really want to do.
Sure, of course.
And I was really on a roll here during the pandemic, you know, when I didn't really have to work and, you know, wasn't doing the conventions and all the booking and being constantly busy. And now that that's started up again, you know, it's really put me behind the 8 ball, you know, because I've shot, I think I have something like 7 episodes, almost, you know, completed that I just don't have time to edit.
Right.
And all this other stuff that I had filmed that I haven't had time to edit. You know,
right.
It's become a bit of an issue because I'm one of these guys. I'm a super perfectionist. Like I will spend 20 hours editing a 15-minute video.
Oh,
you know,
wow!
I will like get in there and, you know, I get real crazy with all of this, getting everything just right. So, it's I can't just wing it. You know, these, like my buddy Adam the Woo, he literally goes out, films something during the day, edits it at night, puts it up the next day.
Good God!
But he doesn't do the crazy shit I do with like putting in the movie clips and matching everything perfectly and this and that. He's a little more. It's a little more. You know, it's his style. He's got a different style. He's a little more renegade, run run and gun kind of vibe.
Right.
And, so that's, I can't, it's funny because he contacted me and said, hey, I'm going to go this was back in October, I'm going to do Rob Zombie's Halloween. How would you like to come do it with me, like co-host it? And I go, fuck, dude, I've been planning on doing Rob Zombie's Halloween. I've been working on it. I've been getting everything dialed in. It's something I was going to do any day. So I was like, so I'm in an awkward position here because you want to do it and I'm going to do it. I said, so how about this? How about I'll go with you. We both shoot it at the same time. We both appear in each other's videos, but obviously yours is going to come out first because yours will be up tomorrow.
Right.
And that's what we did. And I still haven't put mine out. And that was, we started shooting in October. I've gone out and shot other stuff since then because there were a couple minor locations he missed. And mind you, they're very minor. He's pretty thorough. He's pretty on the ball. And I did not know these, I wasn't holding back from him. I was not holding out on him. I found out a couple spots, like minor spots, after he and I did our episode. But then, for example, one of the locations we went to was the interior of the elementary school. Obviously, all the schools were shut down. It was, during the lockdown. So that was one of the things I'm like, I'm going to get in this fucking school. I'm going to get in this school. And I'm going to get all those shots. I'm going to get the bathroom they bully him in. I'm going to get the library. I'm going to get the principal's office, the hallway, everything. And I went up there multiple times and finally one day saw a janitor walking outside. I came up to him, offered him $100, said, hey, and he was like, look, I have to run it by the principal. I can't just, bring you in and let you film something or whatever. I just said take pictures. I always say that. I go, just want to take a few pictures. I'm a big fan. And then I film. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, this is pictures. They're just moving pictures. But he came back out and said, no, she said it was cool, and I gave him the hundy. I said, I'm a man of my word. Here you go. And, go buy yourself a nice lunch,
Yeah.
And he took me in every room, hooked me up. And it was great because school hadn't started back up yet. It was like right at the tail end of like when things were starting to reopen.
Right.
The school year was just ending, like for summer, and I got in and did it. And I just, again, I haven't had a chance to finish it. It's real close. I get distracted with other things. I start like, I want to do, like right now, like I'm just dying to edit Killer Clowns and Lost Boys because it's all fresh in my head.
I can't wait to see those.
But I have all these other ones I've started. I really need to get done. You know what I mean?
Right. Another wish list.
At the same time, I'm also editing the Thing with Two Heads episodes, which takes a lot of time.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing all that shit.
I don't know how you do it. I tell you another wish list one I would love for you to do is Smoking the Bandit.
Oh, that would be fun. Not high on my list, but I would.
I don't know why. I have a weird repertoire of stuff I've liked since I was a kid. I don't know. I just think it would be fun. But
well, my bucket list one that I'm dying to do, that I'm going to get out there someday, is Meatballs.
Oh, that would be great.
That is, but it's in Montreal, Canada.
Is it? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a camp it's a real camp in Canada. It's high on my list, and I'm going to get out there one day and I'm going to do it. It's funny is the Little Darlings was. It's not a very well-known movie because it's never been released on DVD or Blu-ray. So it only came out on VHS, and not too many people know it. If you didn't see it when you were a kid and watched it on
it sounds really familiar to me.
It's a camp movie from 1980. Starred Christy McNichol and Tatum O'Neal and Amand Arsante. And it's basically like tough girl, street girl and a rich girl go to the same camp. They become rivals, and they get kind of pinned in a competition to who could lose their virginity first. And it's like a movie that would never get made today. Two 15-year-old girls, seeing who could lose their virginity first. And Matt Dillon's in it. Matt Dillon plays the guy that Kristen McNichol's hooking up with. And Armand Arsante is a camp counselor that Tatum O'Neal is trying to seduce. But anyway, I found out during the process of researching Friday the 13th Part 6 heavily that it was the same camp.
No shit.
In Georgia. And then I was like, holy shit, this is the camp from Little Darlings? And I started looking at it and realizing, holy shit, it is the same camp. In fact, they use the same cabins and stuff, and you can match everything up. And I was like, wow, I could do both. So I started heavily researching Little Darlings. I wanted to knock that one out too. And the funny thing is, I was more excited about Little Darlings than I was Friday the 13th Part 6.
Well, I mean...
but I did both. So...
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, there's so many movies I could imagine that you'd want to do like that. I mean, I think that's neat. I'm gonna have to try to find. I wonder if Little Darlings is streaming on anything.
I think it's on YouTube. I think you can watch it on YouTube.
Nice.
It's actually a great movie. I mean, if you love like that era type Meatballs movies, you'll dig this. This one's got a little more serious tone, but it does the wacky camp antics too.
It sounds good.
And it's just rad because, I mean, Matt Dillon is so... I love Matt Dillon.
Same here.
And he's so great. I think it's like his second movie ever. Let me see. Over the Edge is another one I'd love to do. But that one, kind of too late. They tore the high school down. I mean, that's kind of the main location from that film.
Oh, okay.
You know that movie?
I do. I haven't seen that in a long time. I definitely know that one.
Yeah, that was Matt Dillon's first movie.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, and here's another interesting thing. As I'm doing the Little Darlings, I realized that the dining hall at that camp is not the same dining hall in Little Darlings. And I'm like tripping out. I'm like, what the fuck? Huh. Why is this dining hall not matching up? So I kind of gave up. I shot everything I thought I could shoot. I went back to the camp office to return the keys. And I was actually in my car about to leave, and I saw a ranger pull up. And I jumped out of my car, and I said, hey, quick question. I said, sorry to bother you. I said, I'm a big fan of this movie, Little Darlings. I went to the camp out here, filmed everything. I said, but there's this dining hall. And I said, it does not match. It's not the same dining hall. And I know they didn't change it because you can see the dining hall in Friday the 13th Part 6.
Right.
It's what they used as the little girl's cabin.
Right.
And I said, is there another dining hall on this property somewhere that, looks like that one but's different? And he, thinks about it because he'd never seen the movie. And he goes, you know what? I bet you they used Camp Rutledge. I go, where's that? And he said, it's about 20 minutes from here. And I said, is it accessible to the public? And he goes, nah, it isn't. But you know what? I'll give you the gate code. You can go out and check it out. I was like, really? So he gave me the gate code, and I went out there, and I filmed it, and it was the dining hall, dead on. And then 2 weeks later, they dropped the trailer for Fear Street. I'm looking at Camp Nightwing from Fear Street, and it's Camp Rutledge. And it's the same dining hall. So I called Christopher Nelson. I go, did you guys film at Camp Rutledge? And he's like, yeah. And then Netflix put out this big thing they tweeted out that Fear Street was shot at the same camp from Friday the 13th Part 6. And I went online and did a whole thing about, nope, you guys are wrong. It's a camp near it, but it's not the same one. And I basically called them out and I did a video on that.
That's amazing.
Which Movie Web picked up, and it kind of went semi-viral, I guess, but not really. But anyway, it was sorry, Netflix, you're wrong.
Right.
It isn't the camp.
You'll need to do your research.
Labor State Park camp is where Friday Part 6 was filmed. Camp Rutledge is where Fear Street was shot. So, but they're technically in the same state park, but it's two different camps.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm very long-winded.
No, man, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. So you've got Whorehound Cincinnati coming up. I'm assuming you've got some folks you're going to be with there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the shows I have coming up, next by the time you put this out, the next one will be, Mad Monster Party, North Carolina. Then after that, Whorehound Weekend, Cincinnati. And then after that is Monster Mania, Maryland.
Okay.
And then Phantasm in Orlando.
Gotcha.
Orlando, Florida. Yeah, so those are the next big ones coming up. And then I think the weekend after that is Son of Monsterpalooza in Burbank, California. So,
cool.
Yeah, I'm just boom, 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 every weekend. It's crazy.
I've always wanted to ask you to kind of close this out. How did you end up becoming a handler for celebrities?
It's a long story. It was totally by accident. It was literally somebody asked me if I could. I knew a promoter and I helped a guy get booked into a show.
Okay.
That had never done one before, and then he had a great time, and then he asked me if I could do it again, and I was like, yeah, and then I started, he kept asking me, and it was like, wow, this is getting to be like a job, and then I was like, well, I know this guy. There was a guy I knew that was a, agent for celebrities for conventions, and I had met him a few times at shows. So I was at a convention and I saw him and I just kind of asked him, I said, hey, how does this work? How do you make money? I mean,
Right.
And he kind of stupidly told me, because I ended up being, I guess, his biggest competitor and kind of surpassing him. But, I asked him, I said, because I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how he made money.
Right.
Clearly he did it for a living. And I never wanted to do it for a living. I just wanted to know how it worked because I wanted to, be able to do it right. And the biggest thing that he told me that clicked with me, and it wasn't the money, because I didn't care about the money at all.
Right.
It was, he told me, they'll fly me in and put me up. And I'm like, well, what? He goes, they fly me in and put me up, to be there to take care of the clients. And I'm like, so the convention pays for your flight, and they give you a hotel room, and you get to go to the convention for free? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, dude, sign me up, because I loved going to conventions, and I would pay to go to conventions myself, So
that's pretty.
I was like, that's
awesome.
all I cared about. But then after a while, the money part started, where I was like, wait a second. This is actually, I'm actually making a little money.
Right.
And it just snowballed, and next thing I knew, I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job and do it full time.
Well, the last time I saw you, you were with Tom Atkins, if I'm not mistaken, in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And, oh yeah, that great experience. It was incredible. But when you do that, do you generally have multiple people when you go to do this stuff now? Do you have a bunch of folks that are there with you, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you mean clients?
Yes, clients, yes.
Helpers that work with me?
Oh, no, clients.
Yeah,
That's incredible, Sean.
In Chicago last weekend, I had 21 clients.
Wow.
I think the show had 25 guests, and 21 of them were mine.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. It's when it's one of those things. I got to do my job. But so when they're asking me like, oh, hey, can we get this person, I just keep saying yes, because it's my job to get them work. But then when it's like you sit down and you realize, holy shit, I got 21 people, that is a stressful weekend,
I can imagine it would be.
Yeah, because, you got 21 people calling you, texting you, wanting to know where I'm supposed to go, asking you 1,000 questions. You're just being pulled in many directions.
Right.
It can be very stressful.
Oh, I can only imagine. Well, I love it's always just one of the side things with you that I always thought was fantastic that you do that. I always thought it was really cool. I guess one of the first things before we'd had you on the podcast, I guess, was to seeing that you had done that with several different celebrities. I just thought it was really, really cool. It's got to be an interesting job.
Yeah, I mean, it's got its pros and cons. I mean, it's got a lot more pros than cons, but, the downside to it is kind of like what we were touching on earlier, getting to actually know some of these people and them disappointing you,
Okay.
And that's part of the business. I mean, you find out some people aren't good people, and unfortunately, it totally sours your experience watching their films for the rest of your life.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I mean, I've had a couple falling outs with a couple celebrities, and it's usually, I don't want to be a dick, but it's usually them, not me. You know what I mean?
I understand.
It's usually their issues, and it's unfortunate because for the rest of your life, it could be your favorite movie, but if you have a bad experience with a celebrity, the rest of your life, every time you watch that movie, you're not. Movies are supposed to be escapism. You watch it to escape from the real world. Unfortunately, this kind of stuff pulls you back into real life, and you can't enjoy that movie anymore because now you're thinking about what a dick that person is or something. You know what I mean?
Right. I've experienced that a lot with musicians.
Yeah. No, I know that too. Yeah. It's a bummer.
It is. Well, Sean, I can't thank you enough for taking all this time to do this with us. I'm so excited to have you on for our 5-year anniversary, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on and do Phantasm again.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate you asking.
And tell everyone right now about where they can find the YouTube channel and anything like that.
Well, my YouTube channel is Malfunction. It's MALFUNCSEAN. So it's basically the word malfunction. But
Okay.
you get rid of the TION and add my name, SEAN, to the end of it. It seemed clever at the time, but it's really harder to spell, and people, I think it messes people up. But you could always just look up Hallowed Grounds, a thing with two heads, and find me that way. But and all my social media is under Malfunction, also Twitter and Instagram and Facebook /Malfunction. So yeah, and so I'm out there being annoying every day.
I think it's incredible. I'm going to have to go watch that the unrated Halloween 2.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It probably won't age well. It's already probably considered not politically correct, but it's funny, and it's like, I mean, I'm humor is not supposed to be safe. Comedy is not supposed to be safe, and
Yep.
It's a sad state we're in this world where we can't just laugh at things. Everybody has to be offended, and I'm traumatized by your words. It's like, you know what? There's a difference between being hateful and just having a sense of humor.
I agree.
And it's I'm even though like the context of that joke at the end of that episode, some people could say it's homophobic. It's not. It's just being funny. It's taking a scene and making it funny. And, I have many, many close friends that are gay, and, they think it's funny and they have senses of humor, but unfortunately the millennials and the new generation all want to be upset about something. So they got to
erase us, I guess, because we have a sense of humor.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, I hate to break it to you, but, trying to erase history isn't going to change the fact that history happened. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think, you need to be able to, like, kids today have no social skills because they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know what it's like to walk up to a stranger and make a friend. They do it all via social media, and, a kid today wouldn't have a clue what it would be like to walk up to a girl at a mall and try to, pick them up or whatever.
Exactly.
Like we used to have to do back in the day. They have no social skills. But it's all done through social media, and I think it's really stunting the growth of the future generations, and it's making them more narrow-minded, and it's making them obviously have less of a sense of humor, and I kind of weep for the future.
I know, it's terrifying. That's its own horror movie.
Yeah, no, it is, and but I'm so grateful I grew up in the era I did.
Me too. Absolutely.
Well, anyway, on that really delightful note, on that uplifting speech.
Sean, thank you so much. Again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. It's awesome to have you back on, and I hope you'll come back on again sometime.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.